But now joining us, one of the best in the business in terms of, prospect coverage, and I know that he is very high on the Coyotes' first-round pick, of course, is Corey Pronman joining us from ESPN. And Corey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, I know you're very busy, and, so we'll get in quick about the Arizona Coyotes and, of course, Clayton Keller. And your thoughts on him. I know before the draft I had seen some stuff that seemed to be very high, obviously an amazing skill set. And what could you tell Coyote fans about him, and what to watch for the next couple of years while he's at BU?
Well, the thing about Keller is that he does so many things well. I mean, you can watch it, but you can see the high-end skill and the high-end speed. But really what's standing out to me about him is his hockey sense. He's such a smart playmaker. He makes one of the more unique and creative offensive plays I saw all season from some draft eligibles. He's a small guy, but everywhere he's gone, he's produced. He was one of the all-time leading scorers at NTDP, and that produces guys like Patrick Kane, Phil Kessel, James Van Riemsdyk, many other very talented American players, and he's been right up at the top with all those guys. And I'm not going to say he's going to be that kind of star-level player, but it just goes to show how well he creates offense at the amateur level. And I think, he's going to evolve right towards the top of the organization in terms of their young talent, and you can see him maybe be in the NHL within a few seasons.
Oh, absolutely. And, speaking of the young talent with the organization, I mean, their pipeline, obviously, over the last couple of years, especially up front, has been fantastic. Obviously, now we see Max Domi graduate to the NHL club, and then, when they acquired Duclair, they're with the Coyotes. But with Dylan Strome and Dvorak, guys like that, in your mind, because I know you know not really about, all the teams' pipelines, prospects everywhere, I mean, would you put the Coyotes in terms of potential and through their system as maybe having the top farm system right now, or at least maybe in the top three?
Well, I wouldn't include Domi or Duclair as prospects in farm systems because they're already quality NHL players. Right. But yeah, they have to be toward the top. If they're at the very top, I have to go through that over the next few weeks and kind of just dissect whether it's them, whether it's Winnipeg, whether it's Toronto. But they are absolutely in that discussion. I think when you add guys like Keller and Jacob Chychrun to that group that you mentioned, like Dylan Strome and Christian Dvorak, among the many other very quality prospects they have in their system, there's just so much high-end scoring talent. It's mostly leaned towards forward. I think, Chychrun vaults right towards the top of their defense ranking just because they had very little young defense in their system. But overall, though, there is a lot of talent, and it's going to be very interesting over these next few years as they start to mature and get up to the big club and compete for ice time.
And speaking of Chychrun, in your opinion, how much development time do you think he'll need? Is he 2, 3, 4 years away in your mind? And also, what type of defenseman does he sort of project as? A two-way guy, a potential top pairing? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, being realistic, I would say, he probably needs to finish out his junior career and maybe a season in the AHL. So maybe you're looking at him becoming a full-time regular either at age 20 or 21. He's 18 right now. He's a two-way defenseman. He's not incredibly flashy, but he skates well. He moves the puck. He's very solid defensively in terms of his reads and playing the body. Not a guy who will be on the highlight reel, but he's just always making quality plays around the ice and being an impact on every shift. In terms of just in projecting him, I think definitely he has the capabilities to be an upper half of the lineup player. Whether or not he's like a star-level defender, I'm not quite there. I'm not sure he has, the offensive upside for that. But, I definitely think he could be a very valuable part of the Coyotes team if he hits his potential.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, we're speaking with Corey Pronman, ESPN writer, prospects, one of the best in the business. Unbelievable, your content, how great it is, and for fans, and especially out here in Arizona with Coyotes and their rebuild, everyone really catching up on learning more about prospects around the National Hockey League. And real quick, because I know you do have to go, but in terms of the draft, now obviously it's years away from really seeing the winners and losers, teams that did really well at the draft. But from what you think, though, of potential of some of these guys and guys that you really like, maybe 3 or 4 teams that might kind of stand out to you as you feel will look down the line in a couple of years and go, wow, they did really well?
It's hard not to start with Toronto or Winnipeg on that front, because I think they got 2 real foundational pieces: Austin Matthews to Toronto, Patrick Laine to Winnipeg, and they did got some nice players that day too. But I mean, those 2 players could define an organization for a decade. But if you look toward the other parts of the draft, I definitely like what Calgary did. I like what Arizona did, given those 2 players and 1 or 2 other guys they took on day 2. I liked what Edmonton was able to accomplish, and I also thought that given that they didn't really have high selections, I thought that Nashville and Chicago did well as well.
Oh, absolutely. And Corey, I really appreciate having you on the show. Just great insight on the prospects and the NHL draft. And, we'd love to have you on again in the future, talk more young players, and really appreciate it.
Yep, sure thing.
And, of course, it's Corey Pronman, ESPN writer there, talks all things hockey prospects, and we'll talk to him more in the future as well about not only the Coyotes youngsters, as we talked about, but, upcoming drafts and all sorts of great stuff, development of these players. And you can follow Corey on Twitter at Corey Pronman. That's CoreyPronman. And so, again, you can see all his great content there, ESPN Insider articles, and